one day, this nation will rise up, live up. In what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Great America, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as the great beacon light approached the millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. Came as the joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. So to hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content, will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America till the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwind of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. That is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights, meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is not around them. They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. As we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied. As long as our body is heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the city. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for white only. vote. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up, live up to the meaning of its creed, to hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream. One day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My four little children one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day, in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of imposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with the white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the word of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the thing that I go back to the cross with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discourse of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all across the world be able to sing with new meaning, my country is free. We land of liberty of the outfit, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrims from every mountainside. Let freedom reign in America to be a great nation. This must become true. So let freedom reign from the prodigious hilltops of the country. Let freedom reign from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom reign from the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom reign from the snow-capped mountains of Colorado. Let freedom reign from the deserted slopes of California. Not only that, let freedom reign from the Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom reign from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom reign from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From
everybody. My name is Paul Webster, and I am co-chair of the Martin Luther King Labor Celebration Committee of the Capital Region, and we'd like to thank you all for being here on this warm evening on the 50th anniversary of the original I Have a Dream speech, or the original March on Washington, which was made famous by Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. As we get started with today's program, there are just a couple of folks that we'd like to thank. First of all, the members of the committee who made that decision 8 months ago, while we were just getting over the MLK holiday that we planned and worked on with our good friends of OGS, to do something today. So I just want to thank all of the members of the committee for indulging me and humoring me and thinking about this day 8 months ago. And then also, before I bring up the Commissioner of OGS, Rowan Destito, I just want to thank the Commissioner and all of her staff and the deputies and the Governor for agreeing to be our co-sponsor here today, just like we work with them every January to remember MLK, remember social justice and civil rights, and remember the role that workers play in the justice movement in our fight for continued equality and justice in America. Saying that, I'd like to bring up our co-sponsor and wonderful hostess, Commissioner of OGS, Rowan Destito.
Thank you, Paul. It's always a pleasure to be here. It's tough to follow that speech, though. I'm very overwhelmed. Steps confronting discrimination, poverty, and injustices wherever they are still found. I applaud your dedication and wish you a meaningful observance of this historic and but momentous occasion.
This is just such a great honor for me. 50 years ago, my mom was 21 years old, and I was in her womb, and she was in Washington. And so it's just amazing to be able to be a part of history, even before I knew I was a part of it. I'm here to represent labor today. Is labor in the house? Labor is in the house, and labor was in the house 50 years ago. I'm not sure if many people are aware. However, A. Philip Randolph, he was the president of the Brotherhood of the Sleeping Car Porters. He was the president of the Negro American Labor Council and vice president of the AFL-CIO. He actually led the March on Washington.
Assemblywoman Pat Fahey, and I've known Pat for many years as we both ran together in 2001 and brought change to the Albany City School Board. And she has been a wonderful leader to the city, and in her election to the Assembly, she's going to be a great leader representing the Capital Region to this state. So I just want to bring up Pat Fahey to say a few words on behalf of the Assembly.
Thank you all for being here, and it is my very deep honor and privilege. I am a new Assemblywoman, and quite frankly, I feel very, very humbled to even be in the same room as the movie projecting. Like the Commissioner, it is those are speeches you don't try to follow, so I will be very brief in thanking you and in saying just how important that this still is. Paul and I still run into each other in January at the MLK celebrations, and my daughter won one of the awards a year and a half ago for writing the speech, and I thought, isn't this wonderful? Because that those speeches are acknowledged, and the speech writing contests are still sponsored each year by a coalition of groups that come together for that. It is still something that is talked about and preached in our schools, and I just thought it's so important. My daughter just finished Hackett and is now entering Albany High, and talk about the need to remind folks of the need for economic justice. It is right here in our towns and in our schools.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Fahey.
Good evening, everyone. I am truly humbled to deliver remarks tonight, and I would like to thank the MLK Labor Committee and its organizing body, my brother and I from Paul Webster, brothers sprinkled throughout the room. I see you, many friendly faces. I truly am humbled by this opportunity to provide remarks. On behalf of Alpha Phi Fraternity, the Georgesville Kelly Education Foundation, this is truly a landmark occasion. I certainly believe in paying homage to the elders that led this effort when I was yet a thought in my parents' mind. And, you know, they moved forward the struggle, and I'm able to reap those benefits today. Part of what made that generation so strong was that they lived with the stark reality of overt racism and oppression.
Movement of the former Executive Vice President of the United States.
The committee for inviting me to bring greetings tonight. And this room is labor and government together. You heard about all the coalitions, all the groups that are here, all the civic groups, all the wonderful people who do so much for our society. The problem is, if we don't stay together, we're finished. We don't get anywhere. Basically, this is not a celebration of the Martin Luther King speech. It's not a commemoration of the Martin Luther King speech. What is happening in the March on Washington? What is happening tonight here in New York and in almost every state in this union are people like us are gathering to pledge the continuation of the dream and reaching the goals that Martin Luther King so eloquently spoke about 50 years ago today. So the work continues. It continues generation to generation to generation. Thank you all for being here tonight. And remember, we will continue the battle. All of us together, we will see victory. Thank you very much.
Our friend, our leader, and our sister in the struggle, Professor Colia Clark.
Oh, thank you very much. The march, because people often think that we were at the march. We're the people who built the march. We're the people who filled the buses. We're the people who gave reasons for the march. From Mississippi, where I started with Medgar Wiley Evers, to Alabama, where my first husband and I founded the Black Belt Alabama Voting Rights Project for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in 1963. It would be this project on which Dr. King will lay his apparatus for the final battle for the right to vote. We are those people who lived in the South. We are those people who lived in Chicago and New York. We are those people who lived in slums. We are those people who suffered the abuses of anti-Semitism, anti-Arabism. We are those people. That's who we were. We built the March on Washington. And I always love to hear people talk about Dr. King in that speech. But he was not the only speech at the March on Washington. And we must look at A. Philip Randolph. We must look at Paul Webster. We must look at Roy Wilkins, who I didn't love so much, but you know, he was there and key to the March on Washington. We must look at Whitney Young and the man who was sitting in jail, James Farmer, on the day of the march. All of these men and all of these women, and my brother, the Apples was in the house, but I can assure you that Omega was in the house. Alpha Psi was in the house. I'm going to keep you from getting run out. Sigma was in the house. And don't you dare think that Delta Sigma Theta and all the sororities were not in the house, and that Dr. Hype was not on the stage. He stood there and he said, there comes a time to do what? To break silence. There comes a time to break silence. There comes a time when we tell the truth. And all that's wonderful. But Albany, tonight as we get ready to march out of here, and I will be marching with you, there comes a time when we galvanize the forces. Labor, government, women, youth, black, white, brown, red, yellow. Do we have any other colors that I might have missed? There comes a time when we all come together and bring women with us. You know, 1920, women talked about they were getting an Equal Rights Amendment. They were at the March on Washington. They were not left out by Dr. King. Could call everybody's name, but all these years we still have not ratified the Equal Rights Amendment. There comes a time when we revisit what happens immediately following the march, because we're how many years beyond the march? 50. We who are in this room are the committed. We are the committed. So I invite you to join us as we prepare now to do the march. Because we're on our way to the freedom land. We're on our way to the freedom land. We're on our way, on our way, we're on our way. How we doing this, Paul? We're on our way, and we won't turn back. On our way, and we won't turn back. On our way, on our way, we're on our way.
So what we're going to do, folks, and thank you so much, Professor Clark. We're going to invite Don Hyman up. Don is here, and he's a wonderful singer.
Come on, Don.
We will overcome. We will overcome.
Place your right hand over your left and grab your neighbor.
We will overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
Representative John Lewis, who, as many of you know, is the lone survivor of the 10 who were the spokespersons at that march at the Lincoln Memorial. And Brother John, as I call him, is still that sage advice of preaching change and that we continue to move forward nonviolently. And he has said so many times, and I've heard him speaking to young people, get in the way when you see injustice. Get in the way. He was advised by his own family not to do that, but he said he couldn't resist. And so this evening we celebrate. We celebrate all that was in the spirit of that March on Washington. It certainly was about social justice. It was about providing for equal opportunity at that American dream. And we're reminded so many times over that marked by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And what a difference he made by just reminding all of us that we are in this experiment together. We share the same house here in America. We must live in harmony, and that we do it by understanding that the creed that guides us is that we are all blessed with the inalienable rights self-evident that all men, at that time was stated, and we'll update that to all men and women are created equal.
That's right.
Created equal. And it was more than just that social place. It was more than just the equitable treatment of all, so that issues like the voting rights could be there for all of the people of this country. Today, what do we see? An attempt to diminish that right, to disenfranchise the voter in several states, as the Supreme Court has asked Congress to move forward and amend, as it needs to, the opportunity so that we can guarantee that the Voting Rights Act is there for each and every American. So our business is still unfinished. We have work to do just in that regard. But it was more than just the social context of justice, it was economic justice. And back then, 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, Martin Luther King reminded the audience, the large masses assembled there, that justice still wasn't there economically. He reminded us that 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, that the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the vast midst of an ocean of material prosperity. He didn't apply that just to the black community, he applied it to all who are living in poverty, where children in this country are living in poverty, where we look at the statistics sometimes and it's embarrassing to know that justice hasn't been achieved. So there is unfinished business. And to take the advice of speakers this evening, to continue to thirst for that freedom, because we are not free, any of us, until all of us is free. Understood by all those who assembled that day, or witnessed it on TV, that we are inexorably bound to one another, where our freedom is only as good as our neighbor's freedom. And so let us now recommit our energy, our efforts, our thoughts, our prayers to freedom, to economic and social justice, so that in the words of Martin Luther King, we will know freedom. We will know freedom so that every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. Then we know we shall have received that wonderful gift of freedom. Let's recall that dream. Let's commit the dream to our effort to make justice possible across this land. There is much unfinished business. God bless them all. God bless you. Thank you, Martin, for giving us the spirit of reform. Let's continue to fight the good fight in nonviolent fashion.
But I do remember the inspiration that I received by being there. And that inspiration propelled me into a profession of helping. We tread our path through the ashes of the past, not to try to reconstruct it, but to find the spark of hope whereby we might be able to light our own torch and go forward. I leave you with the words of Minnie Haskins. And she writes, and I said to the person at the gate to the unknown, that person said to me, go out into the darkness and put your hand in the hand of God, and that will be better to you than a light, and safer than a known way. Go in peace, and may the God of all peace go with you. Amen.
Amen.
I have a dream. One day, this nation will